Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Today, I'm going to be doing a really difficult episode of How You're Getting Effed. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. The reason this is going to be a really difficult series of episodes for me is, well, A, one of them involves my friend, and B, it's going to test a very core principle that I have. And one of the core principles is that whatever type of activism you're doing, you never make the person that you're trying to talk about the issue to the joke. They are supposed to be in on the joke, but they are not supposed to be the joke. I do not make fun of people for their preferences when it comes to the items they buy or what they like. There is this misconception that because I have a lot of criticisms of Apple, that I actually hate all their users, that I take part in that nonsense where I call people sheep or Mac, the thing that starts with the letter F that I'm not going to say on YouTube. I'm not that type of person. I don't expect you to buy things for your work that are based on what makes me productive. I don't expect you to buy things for your personal life based on what makes me happy. You're supposed to have your own identity. You are supposed to buy things based on what makes you productive. You are supposed to buy things for your personal life based on what makes you happy. And that is something that makes sense. You should not follow my preferences because I am a fucking masochist. I have a laptop. I have a ThinkPad P50 that I run Arch Linux on. What that means is that my battery life is like 30 minutes, and anytime I put that thing in my bag, there is a 25% chance that it will actually suspend instead of go into this weird bullshit corrupt hibernate mode where it runs at 90 Celsius in my bag, drains the battery, and even doesn't even have the benefit of when I open it and tap the keyboard of actually waking up. I am the type of person that rather than dating the women that truly care about me, that demonstrate that they want the best for me, I date women that are emotionally unavailable, avoidant, or fearful dismissants, that are just the type of people that, like, the moment you break up with them, they'll just throw you a little breadcrumb just so that you think, maybe, just maybe if I keep climbing this wall, someday she'll love me. I am the type of person that rather than have a business in a place that actually respects me, I will spend 15 years in New York where I'm fined for breaking laws they can't even pronounce, and I wind up getting warrants and liens on me for taxes that I paid 12 years ago. I don't take the easy path through life. I take the hellish path through life. I like being punished, whether it's setting up my computer when I was using Gentoo Linux in 2004, whether it's with my business or in the bedroom. I want my life to be difficult. That's the way I am. I don't expect you to have the same preferences as me. And I've always said over and over and over again that if you are the type of person that says, you're an idiot, you bought a Samsung, or you're an idiot, you bought an Apple, you're broke, that's why you got an Android, you bought a Ford, found on road dead, you bought a Tesla, you're stupid, that you are one of the people that makes the world worse. Because every single time you say something about somebody else like that, what you're doing at that point is you're demonstrating to the manufacturer that they're allowed to abuse you 6 ways to Sunday because the people are never going to come together and blame the person responsible. They're going to blame the user. As I said in this video here, you should be as angry at this happening to a Tesla owner as you would be if it's happening to you. Because the moment it happens to them and nobody says anything, well, it's going to happen to you. And this is going to keep occurring as long as we argue amongst ourselves. Samsung users deserve to get screwed. I got a OnePlus, or OnePlus users deserve to get screwed. They're poor. I bought an iPhone. Or Chevy users deserve to get screwed. They should have got a Ford. Well, we're all going to be fucked together. Today we are going to be discussing a company that really test this principle. As I've said on this channel, when you have devices that connect to the internet in order for functionality to work, that means that you're giving the manufacturer a license to essentially take it away from you at any given point in time. You don't actually own it no matter how much you paid for it, whether we are talking about $100,000 items or $400 items. In the past, I've discussed this with software you pay $50 for, and I've discussed it with hardware that costs $400. Here you have a baby monitor that cost $400 that the manufacturer made a subscription. They went bankrupt, and after they went bankrupt, somebody purchased that company, and the people who purchased that company decided that the way they were going to actually make it financially viable was by screwing all their users. And because this device had to connect to the internet in order for these features to work, that meant that they were able to essentially milk you like a cow and be an abusive farmer that decided to turn you into their bitch. They created a system that allowed you to be exploited by somebody else by making you dependent on them to be able to utilize what you bought and paid for. But again, at the end of the day, it's ridiculous, but, like, you know, for some of the people here that make close to minimum wage, that could maybe a week of pay for you, and it sucks. You'll curse, but it's a baby monitor. What about when this happens with a vehicle? Let's talk about a company called Fisker, who has some of this shit here is so ridiculous that I actually had to check with a friend, because when I read the article as it was translated by Brave Browser's translation, I thought there must be something wrong with this even in 2024. This shit cannot be accurate. This is a vehicle where many of its features require internet connectivity for them to work. And to be clear, this is not something that is unique to electric vehicles. This is coming to an internal combustion engine vehicle near you. Do I have to remind you that BMW tried to do a subscription for heated seats? This vehicle depends on internet connectivity for the sunroof to work. They went bankrupt, and as a result of them going bankrupt, they're not going to be paying for the eSIM. So when you get in this car, you're not putting in your own SIM card for a data plan for it to connect to the internet to ask the manufacturer, please, sir, may I be able to use what I bought and paid for? Oh, yes, make it a subscription. I don't want to. You don't even have control over the connection to the manufacturer's server to be able to ask to get fucked. That is paid for by the manufacturer. So when the manufacturer decides to stop doing that, well, can you even connect this to your own server? No, you cannot. You can't open your fucking sunroof in this car without the permission of the manufacturer. When the cloud prevents you from having a view of the cloud. I know, I'm sorry, it's cheesy. I couldn't help myself. Unsubscribe if you want. I had to throw that in there. Look at Maddox right there. He is rebooting his fucking web server with a smartphone back almost 20 years ago. Holy fucking shit, did you just reboot your server through its SSH pipe with your cell phone? Yes, he did. That's the type of connection that we should have with our vehicles. I am a dude that could log in to his fucking air conditioner via SSH and change the goddamn temperature in his house. That's the type of person I am. And that's the type of person you should be too. Get Home Assistant. This doesn't even connect to the internet. You know how I can do that from anywhere? I can WireGuard or VPN into my network, connect to this computer that only has permission to talk to the thermostat, to a thermostat that only has permission to talk to that computer, and change the damn temperature in my house, even when I'm not at home. This is even cooler than when Maddox was rebooting his fucking server via SSH from a 2005 phone. Even if that manufacturer is not trying to screw you, even if they are a noble farmer, if they are a noble king that rules over you, if they don't make enough money as a result of it, somebody else will come along and buy them when they go bankrupt and tell you, instead of $10 a month to use your sunroof, maybe it'll be $400. And what's stopping them? You can't do with this what I did with my thermostat, where I have a local API where I can have anything connect to it of my choice, where it can stay on a local network and not have to connect to anybody else's computer. With a car, you're stuck with the manufacturer. We're not talking about safety features here. We're not talking about the car being able to accelerate itself off a cliff like the CIA may do to you or I someday. We're talking about a fucking sunroof. These vehicles do not even allow you to change the SIM in it, nor do they allow you to choose the server that you connect to. There's no break glass in the case of emergency, where if they go bankrupt, they will open source the firmware and the client so that you could have your own server, so you could have something else do this, so that you're not stuck with somebody who may tell you want to unlock your sunroof. Maybe it's going to be $10,000. Since Fisker went bankrupt, there has been no announcement that they're releasing this information to the public. There's been no announcement that we are open sourcing the firmware to our customers so that even if you don't know what to do, maybe some of the Home Assistant people just for fun, or the people from the Fisker Owners Club will be able to do it. They're going to have to reverse engineer and try to hack all this shit from scratch. And at the end of the day, if you have a sunroof in your vehicle that you cannot open, if the manufacturer's CEO decides that he's going to spend too much money on hookers and blow, do you actually own that vehicle? No, you don't. And this is where we get to the point where it tests my principles. I never make fun of the user. I never scold the user. I blame the manufacturer. That being said, did you really buy a car where the manufacturer can tell you whether or not you're allowed to use your sunroof? You paid for that? Like, that wasn't free. I would drive that car if it was free. If somebody said that the sunroof in my car needed the permission of the manufacturer and that they were going to double the price of the subscription when they went bankrupt and somebody else bought it, I would take a fucking reciprocating saw and cut that shit out of my car and put a little flap over it. I would rather have that than succumb to the concept that the manufacturer gets to own me to that level. Heated seats is one thing. A sunroof? What's next? You go bankrupt, you're going to fucking lock me in the car? I won't be able to get out unless I pay $20,000? That's what's coming next. It's going to be like one of those horror movies where they're all stuck in an elevator because there's an electrical outage. BMW goes bankrupt, the CEO spends his money poorly. You're going to be stuck in your car until Mercedes comes along and buys them, and maybe Mercedes is going to charge you a hostage fee to be able to get out of the vehicle. You think that's silly, but again, your devices weren't fixable. Then Adobe shit becomes a subscription. Then your heated seats are a subscription. Then your sunroof. Why not the fucking door to the car? You think I'm insane now? People thought Alex Jones was crazy in 2001 when he was saying that your television spies on you. Yes, he was crazy, out of his mind. TVs did not spy on you in 2001. They sure as fuck do in 2023. Don't discount it. It's very difficult in this case for me to not blame the user at least a little bit. And I really feel guilty here because I am breaking my own principle in always holding the manufacturer accountable because, as I've said, bad activism is where you blame the user. I am not going to blame you for getting a Prius when I have an F-350 diesel. I am not going to drive a Tesla and blame you for having a Silverado 3500 Duramax because you're making the environment bad. Bad activists blame the user. Bad activists blame the victim. What am I supposed to say? You bought a car where the sunroof is attached to the cloud. It's better. Good luck fixing one of these things. And you may want to, for speaking of insurance, neither word I can't pronounce or word I can't pronounce. Norway's two largest insurance companies now dare to offer anything but statutory insurance to new Fisker ocean owners. Casco is, in other words, not possible to get. Existing owners with Casco, however, will keep it until the deal expires. There is not much help even if you should get a Casco. Since there are no parts for the cars, the company will not offer any hull repair. The alternative is that you get the value of the part and the calculated repair costs are paid. Then you are left with a car that you were in charge of getting repaired yourself because it cannot be fixed in the traditional way. At worst, it must be condemned. It is simply tragic. Fear that Fisker customers will be exploited. One of the major conflict areas in the process is what will happen to the total of 3,301 unsold cars standing in the United States. In the liquidation process, the company American Lease has initially agreed to buy all of these for $46.25 million, or about $500 million Norwegian kroner. The court must still approve the purchase. The fear, however, is that this will mean a closed ecosystem where American Lease gets the right to the software and spare parts without the existing Fisker owners getting the same. The nightmare is to become hostages in that Fisker is sold to someone who either does bad things with it or requires payment and expensive judgments to maintain the software. The reason it's really important to stick to that principle is if we stuck to this principle 10 or 12 years ago, we wouldn't be here right now. 12 years ago, I was talking about how Apple was screwing over their customers, how they were creating a culture that was anti-repair and anti-ownership. And all 99% of my audience had to say is, you're a sheep, you're an idiot, you bought an Apple product, you deserve it. Every other company is now starting to do the same thing. You didn't push back when it was happening to your neighbor. Nobody's going to push back when it happens to you. And once every company sees they can get away with this shit, well, at that point, maybe there'll be nobody left that decides to treat consumers right. You have to push back, and you have to stay principled, as difficult as it is. And it's going to be really difficult in the next video, but I'm going to try. And that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments down below. Would you buy a vehicle that requires a subscription payment or a connection to the manufacturer's server in order to use your sunroof? I'm very curious. And if you are in the percentage of users